Hi everyone. 2 years ago I found myself shooting some video projects alongside my normal photo projects, and then this started to spill over into my sports photography, and I found myself going to some games and shooting them from both the photo and the video perspective. And so along the way I learnt a few tips and tricks, and so I thought I'd put together a short video with 5 things that I found useful when approaching sporting events in a hybrid photo and video way. Okay, so tip number 1, make a plan. Now, it doesn't have to be a written plan. You don't have to write this down necessarily, and it could just be in your head, but it's really important to approach these events with a plan on either what you want to capture, whether it's photo or video, or how you want to break the game up. So it might be you want to do it by time, and so certain periods of the game, whether it's the start, the middle or the end, you want to capture with video. It might be trying to get some of that emotion around like the kind of end of game or post game even for big key events. But also you want to think about whether you want to focus your photo stuff on the action and then that kind of the sort of B-roll emotion side for the video. And it's very much going to depend on what kind of video project you're doing, but it's really important to have that plan, and so then that way it stops you getting that kind of sort of rabbit in the headlights type thing behind the lens, and you just sit there, focus on what you're doing at that time, and then you get to the end of the game and realize actually I've got no video, or actually I've got no photo. So really think about that, and definitely that can help. But then that brings us on to tip number 2. So as much as I said you need a plan, it's equally important to know when to break it. Things on the pitch or the court can be very unpredictable, and you never know what's going to happen. So sometimes things may happen, and if you're shooting photo at the time and then suddenly you see something that you wanted video of, don't be afraid to break your original plan and switch over. These days, with menus being separated from photo and video, it allows you to switch between them very easily and keep the settings. And so that allows us to have that flexibility and to follow what's happening with the game and not be blinkered about the plan. It's good to have it, but equally know when to break it. Now, tip number 3. So compromising is always going to be a thing when you're shooting hybrid video and photo work. It's never going to be possible to have everything set up perfectly for both. As much as you can get close with the menu separation, there are some things that you're not going to be able to do, like ND filters. If you want to be able to switch between the action on photo and video, you're not going to be there sort of screwing ND filters onto your lenses while the play is going on in front of you. Having a plan can help with that, because you could do that for certain times of the game, but as I said, sometimes you will just want to break away from that plan, and so things like filters are an area where you might have to compromise. Now, one way that I've dealt with that is by using the aperture and just closing that down much more than I sort of would do normally if I was just doing video. And with the longer lenses I'm normally using on sort of sports photography, the sort of background subject separation is still there, so it's not too bad. But there are going to be other things as well. It's inevitable that you all have to compromise at some point, and I know we all want to get the best out of our gear and our abilities, and so sometimes that compromise has a sort of a little bit of a mind game on you. You don't want to do it, but actually generally if you sort of balance up that compromise, you might find that you get better results in the end anyway, because you're not missing things or faffing about with stuff that really you don't want to be doing when there's things going on in front of you. Now, tip number 4. This may seem like an obvious one, but it can catch you off guard as to how many more batteries and cards you're going to need. I found the batteries are changed like anyway in a game at sort of key points, and it wasn't that much worse, but cards is the main one. You're going to use way more cards than what you're used to. Sometimes I could go without even changing cards at all in games, and then now when you're doing video, especially if you're shooting in 4K or slow-mo or anything like that, you're going to use a lot of cards up. So one thing to do is you can factor it into your plan. When you're switching between photo and video mode at key points, use that as a trigger point, right, change card, fresh one in, and then you don't have to worry about it. Because last thing you want to be doing is faffing about, trying to find that card really quickly while something's unfolding in front of you on the pitch. And if it's cold and outdoor sports or something like that, you've got gloves on, you don't want to be doing that, because you'll just be watching probably the best thing you've ever seen happen on the pitch in front of you, and you'll be stuck there trying to change these fiddly little cards over. So factor that in, think about it, bring extra, and make sure that you're changing them at key points when you don't want to miss any of the action. Lastly, tip number 5. Now this last one's probably not as obvious. If you're used to doing photo work, you probably do get some pre and post game stuff, but you're not going to be getting a huge amount of that. But with the video side, it's definitely going to be useful. You want that B-roll footage, that stuff to sort of set the scene, build the story, and especially if it's going to be something like a documentary, say, as an example, you want that pre and post game stuff. So getting there nice and early is going to mean you've got plenty of time to capture that, get all the players arriving, any kind of build up, whether it's the build up of the emotions within the team, or sometimes it's even just that sort of friendly banter that you get going on before a game. You're going to want to capture that. It's going to be excellent material when you need to put that story together and build out that project. So those are my 5 tips for shooting sports hybrid photo and video. Now I hope you found that useful. Please let me know if you did, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I'll try and make some more stuff like this in the future. Thanks for watching, and bye.